Captain, let's look first at these images from just after the crash. I mean, they're horrifying. What were your first thoughts at this?
I was shocked, obviously, Heather. I was shocked. This is a terrible event, and my first thoughts went to, obviously, the victims, the families, the people that were working on that site that day. And also my thoughts went to the crew of the ship and the pilots that were on board, and I'm sure did everything they could to avoid that from happening.
We're going to tap into your expertise, and you're going to take us moment by moment through what happened, help us understand what led up to the crash. So if we look at some video from early this morning, there you see the dolly. What would have happened before a ship like this set sail? Does a marine pilot go through the same kind of safety checklist that an airline pilot does, for example?
Well, yeah, the ship crew does. The captain and the officers go through an extensive checklist, and when the pilot comes on board, he has a pilot-master exchange formula that he has to go through and double-check if everything is working. So I'm sure everything was checked
before they set sail. This is the moment where it first loses power. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's the first blackout. Obviously, from what we can see, the ship lost its entire power, including power to the engines, electricity, generators. It seemed like it lost everything.
So at this point, it's sailing 8 knots, is what we were told.
Yeah.
Is that considered fast?
No, the ship needs a certain speed to have the ability to maneuver itself into the water. So 8 knots would be a normal speed at that time.
Normal speed.
Yeah.
And who would be at the controls at this point?
The pilots
Captain?
would be at the control.
The pilots, okay. You notice at this point there aren't any tugs around.
No, that's right. You probably left the tugs after departure. You need the tugs to handle the vessel close to the dock.
Okay.
After you depart, you need to gain speed. You need to let go of the tugs so you can gain speed.
That seems to be an issue, people wondering whether that might have been a factor. Do you think it was something
Well,
to
in some
consider?
areas of the world, you have tethering tugs. So there are tugs made for that that go in the front of the ship that could go faster and help if something happens. But we don't have that many of that in the U.S.
So what is going on right now? They're trying to reestablish the power, get it back on. It's getting very close at this point.
Exactly. It's probably emergency power that came back on. The emergency generator kicked back in. This is where you see the smoke coming out of the funnel at the after part of the ship.
So there it's starting to come on.
It could have been the emergency generator. Maybe they were able to restart the engines, the main engines, but obviously that didn't work because they're going to lose power soon enough.
It's going to go back again. We know it does go back out again.
Exactly.
At this point, or some point in this time, there's a Mayday call.
Yeah.
Tell me what difference that might have made.
Well, I think it made a huge difference to save lives. The pilots were able, the 2 pilots together, working together, probably one pilot looking after the movement of the vessel, the other pilot looking after communication with the crew and with the traffic system, the Coast Guard, was able to send a Mayday.
Because as we look at this, we can see there's still traffic on the bridge at this point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as you see on the right, I mean, this is the devastating part.
Is, yeah.
These are the pothole repair crew members, and we know what is going to happen very shortly. So at this moment, again, second loss of power.
Exactly.
And then?
And then you can see the movement of the ship veering towards the right, at the starboard. So probably, my guess is that the rudder probably got stuck hard to starboard, and they let go of the anchors. So the anchors were dragged at the bottom, and then it becomes very difficult to control the movement of the ship because of the loss of power and the rudder being stuck.
So this is essentially adrift at this point?
It is adrift, yeah.
It's adrift at this point. And they can't, I mean, this is a 300-meter-long ship.
Yeah.
It doesn't come to a stop immediately.
No, it's very heavy.
So you can't, would they be thinking about anchors or anything at this point? What kind of things would they be considering options-wise to get out of this crisis?
Yeah, I think the first thing they did is send the crew forward. The crew was probably standing by forward because they had just left the dock, and they asked probably the crew to let go of the anchors. I think that happened way back, probably 3 minutes back. And then they're dragging the anchors, but with the momentum of the ship and the weight of the ship, the anchors just can't stop a ship like this in such a short distance. So they're trying to get power back to the ship so they can reverse the engines.
Right.
And that's probably why you see the smoke. When the engine actually came back, if they did come back, they probably went full astern trying to stop the movement of the ship, and then they lost power again.
Okay. Again, I think we must be ahead of the Mayday in that they're still seeing traffic going across, and they did say they were able to stop traffic from crossing. What must have been happening on the bridge, seeing this looming? Yeah,
very hectic on the bridge, obviously, asking for the crew to run back, obviously, so that the crew doesn't get hurt. The crew that was looking after the anchors, after handling the anchors and the mooring lines after departure, and basically brace yourself, because it's going to hit hard.
And you would know that it is coming at this time.
Yeah, there's not much they could have done at that time.
So again, watching this, and we're just seconds away from that moment of impact, and we have to be very sensitive because, of course, at this point, there are people who are alive on that bridge, and the impact is coming, and it is horrific. What would it have been like at the moment of impact on board?
You know, it's on such a big ship, you know, the steel would have buckled, obviously, so it wouldn't be an impact like in a car crash or an airplane crash. It's kind of a soft stop for the crew of the vessel.
It's just stunning. It was instant.
Yeah.
The bridge came down.
Yeah.
The bridge came down.
The pillar just gave up, and that was it. You know, there was not much to be.
And now, I mean, just to stop to absorb that again, no matter how many times we've seen that today, it is unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
And now, of course, the questions and the investigation. As you have watched that again in real time with me, did you see anything that may suggest what they did wrong, or did they appear to have followed protocols from your expert eyes, but from afar, obviously?
Yeah. From what we know, I don't know much more than you do. From what we know, I think everything was done to try and minimize the impact, save lives, and I think the pilots, the captain, the crew did that, obviously, and the rescue workers, the police that stopped the traffic and helped stop the traffic. I personally don't think there's anything else that could have done to prevent that at that stage, obviously.
Okay.
Was the maintenance of the ship done properly and all that? That's just conjunctures. We don't know about
So,
that.
but these are the questions for investigations which
Exactly.
are already underway.
Exactly.
So, as you said, maintenance. What are the kinds of things that they'll look like in terms of where the failures were?
Well, there's a VDR on board, so there's a video data recorder, like a black box on an airplane, if you want. So they will be listening to that to see what happened, the chain of events.
So they'll see it,
Yeah.
and they'll hear the conversations
They
on
will,
the bridge.
yeah.
And is there also data being recorded as
Exactly,
well? So
yeah.
just like in a plane crash.
Exactly. So if there were things not going the way they should have been in the engine room, that the VDR might have recorded that, and then the TSB or the people doing the inquiry will have more details into what led to that blackout.
And what about human contribution here or human error? Is that something they'll look at?
They will definitely look into it. I don't know if they'll find any, but they'll definitely look into it for sure. Yeah.
What do you think might be the broader impact of this? This is a rare event. It's not an unprecedented event.
No.
There have been dozens of these over the years. But what impact could this have on other shipping companies and the maritime industry?
But there'll be an immediate local impact on Baltimore because it handles a lot of cargo. At least I think there's about 40 ships stranded in the harbor right now that will not be able to get out of the harbor until they clear the pathway, the fairway. So there's going to be an economical impact for Baltimore for sure. And probably for the eastern seaboard, reshuffling all this cargo on the eastern seaboard between all the other ports, New York, and all these ports.
But will
handling the
shipping
containers.
companies, manufacturers, will they look to see if there's a problem that may affect other similar ships? Is that question?
We'll see what the TSB finds out. If there was a specific item that could be looked after on other ships, they will issue a warning and people will look into it. But I would be surprised. Blackouts do happen. It happened in an area, the worst of timing, some sort of a perfect storm event. But if they find something that could be looked at on the other ships of the fleet, they will issue warnings that ship owner can look into.
But as you said, a perfect storm. And we have the catastrophic results. Thank you so much for sharing
welcome.
your expertise and really helping us understand everything better, Captain.
You're welcome.